So as you can see here, so I'm running a Mac device here today, just running a standard Mac MacBook Pro. What the user would do from a login point of view is they would have the PC over IP client sitting on their desktop, be it Windows, Linux, or Mac. They simply click on it. They're then presented. Now, if I have access to a number of different workstations, I would be presented with this list here. Because right now I've just got access to one workstation, then all I'm seeing here is the workstation I want to connect to. I connect to that. I then enter my login details. My name is Andrew, by the way, not Michael, but for the sake of demonstration. I'm now logging into a Windows workstation. So even though I'm sitting on a Mac, I've got sat here a Windows workstation. And there's a couple of things I just want to show here. And now, obviously, I appreciate that currently this is being shown to you across Teams. We all know during this current pandemic that the Teams quality has been reduced by 25%, the same as every other streaming service out there. So you may not be getting the best visual experience, but I can tell you, hand on heart, that what I'm seeing here now is a perfect Windows workstation. What I can also do is just to show you the interactivity here. You know, I can, on my desktop over here, I've just got a worktop. I've got a document that I'm moving around. But then as soon as I move into my desktop over here, which is the Windows machine, no delay, no lag. It is absolutely seamless. I have the choice as a user. I can, if I want to, I can connect. I can either do, as I've got here, a windowed view or a full screen view. As we move we can resize the window as we want to. And as we resize it, we automatically rescale the image as well. So we can see there, I've now got a very small window. What I'm just going to do now is I'm just going to move into full screen. So just give it a second while it just works that out. And then there we go. I've now re-rendered into a full screen mode. So I've just got a couple of things here I just want to demonstrate to you. I'm no expert when it comes to Blender, by the way, but I just want to open this up for you. So this is a Blender deployment. So what we've got here is Blender. I'm just pulling out from Blender, moving back in again. This is about the level of my experience of using this. But as we can see here, we're just moving around. I can literally, as I'm clicking it, there is, for me, now, you know, to be fair, and I think it's, you know, in the view of the word everybody being transparent, I do have a very good connection to the internet. So I'm currently fiber to my premise. I am working from home. But again, you know, it's all about the platform that we can deliver across. If the network is good and the internet connection is good, then the users will get a fantastic experience. And actually, what was really interesting, actually, we're doing a POC with a big broadcasting company, not in this country, I will say, in another country, and they're using things like Adobe Pro, and they're using Avid. I've got a great email from them yesterday, so they're currently trying it, and they said they've had an editor actually finish work for 2 days from home, getting ready a TV episode to be broadcast, and the editor, literally the words from the editor were, they didn't even know they were not sitting at their desk in the office. The experience for them was so good, which I think for us was a real endorsement of the user experience there, because ultimately we are only as good as the experience that the user has. So yeah, there's just that's the render of that particular thing. There we go. If we close that down, I'm going to play some video now, so you can just see video being streamed. Let's go with this one. Anybody in the VFX world will know Big Buck Bunny. It seems to be the default video that people tend to use for testing stuff. So that's just Big Buck Bunny. You know, I said it's very difficult to show you what that actually looks like on my 4K screen here. But you can be assured that we've got, a lot of artists globally using this now, and it does deliver a perfect experience. What we also do, and I want to show, is that it's very difficult sometimes for you as IT administrators or users to understand what's actually happening and what could be affecting the performance and the delivery. So we also have a lot of built-in tools that allow you to actually see the performance of the PC, what we call the PC over IP session. So the PC over IP session in our terms is once we connect from a remote user to a workstation, that is a session. And there's lots of variables that will affect that session. We've talked about a couple already: round trip latency, bandwidth availability, packet loss, etc., etc. So it sometimes can be difficult to understand and fault find what's going on. So what we give you is a load of tools and a load of performance monitoring that you can actually look at both at the host level and at the client level. So client connect, we can see here bits being received. We can drop down and say, let's look at round trip latency. There's the round trip latency. Now, just so you know, I'm actually connecting through to a cloud-based workstation that is actually sitting in Dublin. So we can see frame rates. So we can see the latency. If we look at frame rates, delivering a consistent 60 frames a second. And we can drill. So if you start to have users that are saying, oh, actually, I've got some issues, I'm not getting the best experience, you can actually start to look at these and say, okay, well, the reason is, and we see this, and certainly what we've seen, I think, and what everybody's experiencing is that, when you're using your broadband at home or your internet connection at home, and you are, your Xbox gaming, or you're just watching Netflix and you're receiving some emails, and you're doing a bit of browsing, the fact that that network is going up and down and not, and you may not be getting a perfect 100% all the time. We've never really noticed that. You don't really notice that. However, when you start working and you're expecting users to be sitting at home for, let's say, 8 to 9 hours a day, and they're sitting in front of their machine, then actually they will start to notice little dropouts every now and then, and that's out of our control, it's out of your control. But what is useful by these tools is what this gives us is the ability to actually have a look at that network quality and try and highlight that, okay, yes, we suddenly see a drop at, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the reason we see that is because suddenly all the kids have stopped, doing their homework or their schoolwork they've been set, and they're now jumping on to, YouTube, Netflix, and that could be something happening within the users or the artist's own home environment. Again, where we say they should be using a Ethernet connection because Wi-Fi is just not stable. And they're working from home and it's been fine all day, and suddenly at 3 o'clock they're starting to see, a bit of jumping or a bit of jitter. It's probably because somebody's just fired up on their network and using Xbox or Netflix or whatever it might be. And this can allow us to actually be able to track that down. We can look at things like packet loss. Again, packet loss is important. If you start seeing frames being dropped, it could be because there's interference on the network. Somebody's going to put, they're on Wi-Fi and they've just gone and warmed up their cup of tea in the microwave. These things can have an effect. For most users, they're not used to that sort of thing. What we also do is, so the product really is designed to work out of the box. So we talked about the network adaptation. It will look at the network, and it will start to, it will start to deliver the best experience possible with the network that's being provided. However, we do give you the ability within the product itself to set some baseline parameters. So what you can do is you can set things like, move that out of the way. I hope everybody's enjoying Big Buck Bunny. So you can do, for example, enable build to lossless. Now, what this will mean is that we will consume more bandwidth, because what we do is by that is we'll deliver what we can, and in the background we backfill as we can deliver more and more of the image quality. From a security point of view, you might want to say, I don't want the user the ability to copy and paste text from the session they've got down to a local machine. You might want to remove the ability for users to plug in USB devices. So they can't, I could plug in a USB device to my machine here, and then I can map it to this virtual machine. you may want to remove that ability and say, no, we don't want you to do that. We've enabled Ultra, and we talked about Ultra just being enhancements to the protocol. If you're only delivering 2K content, you may just want to turn that off. There's other areas we can look at, things like bandwidth floors. So we might want to say we want to always use, for our PC over IP session, we always want to use a minimum bandwidth of this. So we always know there's a minimum quality that we're going to deliver. We can do some other stuff as well. There's lots of switches that we can turn off and on to customize the experience that the user might have. As I said, typically you should never need to really get in here because we're using bandwidth, we're using network adaptation to deliver that best experience. So we're always in the background trying to monitor all of this to ensure that we're delivering the best user experience.